So imagine for a second you're in charge of a whole nation's education system. How would you know if students are actually learning? I mean, it's not as simple as just looking at a report card, right? Today, we're going to dive into the incredible story of educational assessment in the Philippines and explore how a simple test was transformed into this really powerful diagnostic tool for the entire country's future. We're going to walk through this story in 5 key parts. First, we'll look at the nation's very first educational checkup. Then we'll see the rise of more scientific ways to measure learning. After that, we'll explore how all that data actually gets used in a real classroom. We'll also tackle the super important quest for a fair test. And finally, we'll see why all of this is and always will be a work in progress. All right, let's start at the very beginning, the first time the nation really tried to get a handle on its educational health. You know, the idea of using objective data to see how the whole school system is doing, well, it's not new. In fact, its roots go back almost 100 years. This timeline really shows you just how long people have been thinking about this. Way back in 1925, you had the Monroe Survey, which was the first big government effort to just see what's the state of our education. Then you fast forward to the 1960s, and this idea grows into standardized national testing for a whole bunch of students. All of this groundwork led to a really pivotal moment in 1978, the creation of the Center for Educational Measurement, or CEM, as its own independent group dedicated to this exact work. So, how do you get from these early, broad surveys to a modern professional toolkit? Well, that brings us to our second chapter, the rise of measurement. This is where things get serious, and specialized institutions are created to really refine the science of assessment. And a major player in this whole story is the Center for Educational Measurement, or CEM. You're actually looking at their main publication right here. CEM basically grew out of an initiative from the Fund for Assistance to Private Education, FAPE for short. Its mission was to professionalize testing and offer these measurement services on a national scale, a real game changer. Okay, so when we throw around the term educational assessment, what are we really talking about? It's so much more than just grades. It's the whole process of documenting knowledge and skills in a way you can measure. But here's the most important part. The whole point is to provide feedback for students and teachers so that learning gets better. At its heart, it's a tool for improvement. And that leads us perfectly into our third section, from data to the classroom. Because let's be honest, collecting data is one thing. The real magic happens when you actually put those test results to work, when you turn all those numbers into real, tangible improvements for both students and teachers. Just take a look at this. It's such a great example from a CEM study. Think of it like a diagnostic X-ray of elementary math. You can see these super clear weak spots at specific grade levels. For second graders, it's the numeration system. Then you hit third grade, and suddenly it's decimals, with a pretty concerning average score of only 32%. And did you notice how fractions are a problem that just keeps popping up in both 5th and 6th grade? This is data that's pointing you exactly where to look. So what do you do with that kind of information? Well, this is the brilliant next step. CEM created what they called the Professional Education Program Series, or PEPS. First, they analyze all that test data to find these learning gaps across the country. Second, they notice the patterns, like how that problem with fractions keeps showing up year after year. And then, the final, most important step, they design specific, targeted training for teachers to help them tackle those exact gaps in the classroom. So here's the main takeaway, the crucial point. Test results are not just a grade, they're not some final judgment, they're a prescription, a detailed plan for how to improve the entire educational system, one skill at a time. But for that prescription to actually work, the diagnostic tool itself has to be accurate and, really importantly, fair. And this brings us to a huge challenge in our fourth section, the quest for a fair test. This is all about tackling bias in assessment. This pretty much lays out the golden rule of test fairness. On one hand, a test should measure what a student actually knows or is capable of. But on the other hand, what it absolutely must not do is be influenced by stuff that has nothing to do with that knowledge. Things like a student's gender, the language they speak at home, or what part of the country they grew up in. Getting this right is at the heart of what's called item bias. And CAM's research turned up some really fascinating real-world examples of this. They found that visual tasks often favored male students. But when it came to proofreading questions, female students generally found them easier. The regional factor was also super clear. Verbal questions in Filipino were easier for students in the Manila area. This is probably because the language used in the test is based on Tagalog, which is spoken all around them. And these aren't just hunches, they're conclusions backed up by data. And why is this so important? Well, because a fair test isn't just some technical thing for statisticians to worry about. It contributes to a much, much bigger goal for society, making sure every single student has an equal opportunity to succeed, no matter what their background is. All of this brings us to our final section, and it's a big one. It's about recognizing that this is all a perpetual work in progress. Educational assessment isn't some finished product you can just put on a shelf. It's a living, breathing field that has to keep evolving.
This quote really nails the ultimate benefit of this entire journey. Evidence-based decision-making in professional development is certainly a move in the right direction. It's all about using that hard data from the assessments to make smarter, more targeted decisions about how we train and support our teachers.
And that idea is just perfectly summed up in a keynote speech by Ramon Clargi Mendez at a CEM conference. He said it plain and simple. All assessment is a perpetual work in progress. The job of making the tools better, analyzing the results, and improving education, it's never really finished. Which leaves us with this final, big question to think about. If it's true that the tests we design end up shaping the way we teach, then what are the critical skills we should be testing for next? Things like creativity, collaboration, digital literacy. What do we need to measure to prepare students for the future? And that really is the question that drives the next chapter of this incredible story.
Access free CEM practice tests. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to begin.